Awesome, dude. Well, I appreciate guys taking the time to
Yeah,
just sit down. Yeah, man.
I appreciate the invitation.
Well, welcome and a cool background too, man.
Yeah, the guys put together a little studio here for shooting videos and stuff. It's a nice ambiance. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen your videos. I've seen a lot of your videos. I've seen the Instagram ones, the
Okay.
shorts and that kind of stuff. And I see that, I recognize that background
Yeah.
in a lot of them. So
Yeah, they did a good job with it. Made it look all purty. Have all the different random historical artifacts up on the shelf behind me and
oh,
all that kind of stuff.
dude, I'm
So,
curious. Okay.
yeah, we got all sorts of stuff on here. We got our whole I don't know. Here's one. Our whole collection of all the different, well, it's missing some, but most of all of the engines we've done over the years. A little display stand all the way back to the original SMP, which is the very first product we put out.
Dude, that's
So
cool.
yeah, they made a little 3D printed stand and put them all on display there. All of the Players' Choice Awards, and I don't know. We got some random, just raw aluminum receivers.
Yeah,
Oh,
so introduce yourself and then we'll go into
okay.
your background and then how you guys got how you started this badass company you've been going for it seems like a while.
It's been a while now. So my name's Rich. I grew up in Delaware, of all places, but grew up playing airsoft. I don't know, I was probably 14, 15 years old when I started playing. Um, well, airsoft back then, that was a few years ago now. It was, it was not nearly as mature as it is now. Like,
Yeah,
mostly people just played in their backyards and, did their
pickup
thing.
games.
Yeah, it was just very casual. So,
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, there were a few local fields, relatively local fields, not nothing real close, but um, so I played there. Played and I mean, pretty much right away got into modifying my own guns. I mean, like when I say pretty much right away, before I even got to AEGs, like I had I don't know, it was probably maybe the third or fourth gun I got was no idea the manufacturer, but like an old M4, a spring M4, right? That you pull the charging handle back to cock it every single time.
Oh, that's cool.
And I disassembled that thing and double stacked springs. Found another spring that fit inside the main spring, so you had two springs you were compressing to up the
Oh,
velocity. Yeah,
okay.
just all sorts of random stuff like that. Um and then I don't know, I guess in college I kind of got out of playing, just was busy, and there wasn't, my friend group I'd been playing with wasn't really around anymore. But then after college started getting into playing some black sheep events. Uh Went to several of the games up at was it Drum up in New York,
Hmm.
right? Isn't that Fort Drum up in New York?
Fort
Anyway,
Drum. Oh yeah, okay.
so um, unless I'm mixing up fort names at this point, who knows? Um, so kind of got back into it at that point, and
Yeah.
then by that point I'd gotten my engineering degree, mechanical engineering, and was down in Alabama working for as a NASA contractor, support contractor, doing materials and manufacturing. And then at that point, kind of started. I don't know. I just kind of looked at what was happening in the market, and it was so stagnant from a technology
Oh
standpoint.
yeah.
And there was just like, it was like, man, they like nothing. nothing's changed. There's been no innovation. There's, it basically for like 15, 20 years was a race to the bottom.
Mm,
You know what I mean? It was like, who can make the same thing $5 cheaper,
right.
right? And usually $5 worse. It's just like,
Exactly.
um, and so I kind of looked at it and it's like, I think there's an opportunity to kind of innovate and do something that's different, um, especially because you know, I mean, I assume how long have you been playing airsoft?
So I've never played.
You've never played airsoft?
Not officially. Not
Okay.
officially. So yeah, that's it's funny because I think on my, I forget which bio it is. I don't know if my Twitter, one of my socials I put on there. Uh I run an airsoft podcast, but I've never played airsoft. So
Oh, okay, so
it's
you're gonna have to tell me how you got into that.
so let me get a quick rundown real quick on this the background of this channel. Anyone that's heard this 150 times, go ahead and fast forward for 60 seconds. I got it
And
streamlined now.
I apologize for not doing my
Oh,
homework.
dude, no big deal, man, for real. Um, you're busy. I don't expect people to, look all this stuff up. And I want this to be a casual conversation, not like,
Sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So, but I worked in manufacturing for a lot of years. I spent 4
Okay.
years in the Marine Corps. My wife and I got married. We had 5 children. We have 7
Hmm.
grandchildren now.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then after the military, I went in manufacturing uh, and did that until a few years ago. I was paralyzed with an illness called Guillain-Barré syndrome,
Okay.
and so coming out of that, recovering from being able to not walk or even talk at the time,
Right.
I needed something to do, keep
Hmm.
busy, and I started a couple YouTube channels, and this was the third one I started because my boys came home too. My boys at the time were in their early 20s, and they came home with these guns, and I was like, "Oh, what'd you guys do? Go to the range with Johnny or something?" They're like, "No, these are
Yeah.
airsoft guns," and I was like, "What?"
Oh
So
yeah.
I played paintball back in the 90s.
Hmm.
Uh, knew nothing about the current, airsoft thing or whatever. I mean, knew zero.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me film this stuff and start this channel. It'll give me something to do. So we started this channel doing unboxings and reviews.
Okay.
And yeah, so then and that was 5 years ago. And then about 2 years into the channel, all the boys got, and their friend that got them into it got busy. They grew up. They
Yep.
got married, got promotions at work, had kids, got houses, and so they haven't played airsoft in more than 2 years, maybe 3 years. And I wanted to keep the channel going, and I was talking to people on here, and I was like, let me record these and put them up as a podcast. And I probably did that, I don't know, 40 times before I
Uh-huh.
actually said I'm going to make this a podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, so this became therapy for me while I was recovering, like where I couldn't really get out of the house. And
Right.
so it really helped talking with people and hearing their stories. And I wanted to
Right.
give back to the community. And I said, okay, I'm going to make this an official podcast and
Okay.
get people's
Awesome.
background out there. So yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
yeah, that's how
great.
I ended up doing this. But at the time, all I could do was I've handled these guns, I've shot them, we
Hmm.
did the reviews and stuff. I could hold them in my hands and manipulate most things, but my
Right.
fingertip strength wasn't very good or whatever. But I could pull a trigger and an airsoft gun. So it was I've shot them. I just haven't gone out on the field and played.
Gotcha.
So I'm a lot better now. I can walk around
Okay.
and that kind of thing. So good to go there. It's just I haven't had an opportunity to go out and
Oh, we'll have
do
to get you out there one of
oh
these
yeah.
days. Where
Yeah.
where are you located?
I'm in South Carolina.
South Carolina.
So my
Okay.
wife and I grew up in Northeast Ohio, moved down here 20
Yeah.
years ago. My
Okay.
in-laws have lived here for uh since 1990.
Okay. Yeah.
Michelin bought out BF Goodrich
Yep.
back in I think 90 or 91, something like that, and moved a
Yeah.
bunch of people from Ohio down here,
Yeah.
and her dad was one of them. So
So you're
moved.
around Greenville?
Yeah, we're in. Yep, right
You're in
outside of
Greenville.
Greenville.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
yeah,
Michelin's in Greenville.
that's
Yeah.
right. Yep, yeah. And then, well, when you were talking about putting this doubling up the spring in
Uh-huh.
your gun or whatever, I mean, that's pretty. That's high aptitude kind of stuff, right? Like mechanical aptitude. I was going to ask you
Yeah.
if you were an engineer, and then you said yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that I always, that was probably, I was probably, like I said, maybe 15, 16 years old at the
Right.
time. But I just, I don't know. I always worked on stuff growing up. There's just always
Okay.
something, working with my hands on something,
Uh-huh.
when for a while I was making, making homemade bow and arrows out of, carving them out of trees. And,
Yeah.
then at some point, I was probably, how old was I at that point? I want to say when I was like 18, 19 years old, uh, I bought a old, non-running, Mustang on eBay.
What year?
Brought it home, 77.
Ooh,
So one of
okay.
the Mustang 2s, brought it home, and had never worked on one before, and just started tearing things apart, and ended up pretty much rebuilding the whole thing from the bottom up. Pulled the engine out, had to tore the engine down, ended up having to replace it, and swapped in a manual transmission for the automatic that was in it, and redid all that. So it's just always been, I don't know, working on stuff has always been my thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but anyway, I mean, I got, I guess I remember where we jumped off now. So if everybody that's ever played airsoft basically has the same experience, right? They go through exactly the same process. Um, they discover airsoft, they think, oh, this is cool. They usually get a super cheap gun, and shoot their friends with a little bit, and this is cool, yeah, this is fun, and decide they want to play a little bit more, so they go get their first like real airsoft gun, right? Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
an AEG or something like that. And it's great, they love it, having they're playing pickup games with their friends, or maybe there's a local, they start playing at their local field, and then at some point they hear about, oh, there's these bigger games, mil sims or whatever, these bigger games you can go to. And so they they pick one out, and it's like a big deal, right? It's when
Mm-hmm.
you're a teenager or whatever at that point, and like it's a lot to, you got to figure out transportation, you got to
It's a big
buy all the
commitment.
stuff, like it's a big thing.
It
And they
really is.
usually spend months getting ready for their first one.
Uh-huh.
It's just like, oh, I gotta, and they take their gun in and have the local tech do a little work on it to get it all fixed up and just ready to go. And
No, usually they try it themselves first,
well, sometimes
and
they
then they
try it
break
themselves
it.
first. Yeah, yeah.
My
Um,
boys, that's what my boys did. Okay.
yeah, but then they get to their first, the first milsim that they've been looking forward to, or maybe it's just a big local event, whatever it is, but they've been looking forward to, planning for it for months, and they get 5 minutes into the game, and they hear the death sound of zzz, zzz, zzz. Oh no,
Yeah.
there went my gear train or my piston, or whatever it was, right? And it just completely kind of, and somebody says, oh, well, I've got a gun you can borrow, yeah, and they end up playing, and it's okay, but it completely ruins the experience.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to play with their gun, they got their gun set up, they wanted to play with their gun, they had it the way
Mm-hmm.
they wanted. And the way I looked at it, I just kind of went, if we can just make airsoft products that don't get in the way of people enjoying the game,
Mm-hmm.
because people like playing airsoft, it's fun, it's a good time, and if you can just make products that don't get in the way of them actually enjoying it, I think we'll do really well. Like this
All right.
this will work. So keeping things simple, high performance with minimum complexity, right? So there's just minimum things to go wrong, minimum things for people to mess up if they, if they decide to mess with things, which they always do.
Yeah.
And competitive level performance. So that's always been kind of the design philosophy, is just keep things simple and make it something that enhances people's experience of the game instead of something that's the limiting factor. Because I mean, when I was going to the big milsim events, I mean, everybody brought 3 guns or more, right? Because you
My
had
boys
to,
did.
right? Because otherwise, I mean, it's just like you're never gonna, like,
You know what's
something's gonna
crazy
go.
about that too is my boys had this, one of the, there was 4 of us on the channel when we started when we started doing unboxings. So we would each get our own BOA from EVIC and all that kind of stuff. So we would end up, I mean, within a couple of months of our channel, we had a lot of guns already, backups and stuff. They bought Crytex, they bought G&Gs. Some of them are hanging on this wall. And when they would go to an event, they would take backups. And one of the backups they would take was this really cheap Lancer Tactical M4. Okay, all tan. This thing, it's definitely a fluke. Okay, because it was one of the Gen 2s or something like that, or maybe it was a Gen 1. It might have been, because it was early on in our channel. And this thing is still running today. Now, it wouldn't be, it wouldn't be used the whole weekend, but if it was their backup. So if somebody else, their gun broke, but it would be used for a full day, each time they would go somewhere when somebody's thing would break. So it's just one of those things, like, how is this thing not breaking? But they always took 2 and 3 guns, like you said. Very common.
Yeah. So, I mean, just having, when I was working on my first sort of prototypes, I gave one to a buddy of mine to play with, and we were at a Black Sheep event, 24-hour game, continuous gameplay basically. And I gave it to him to try out, and I asked him, I don't know, sometime around midnight, about halfway through the game, I was like, how's it working for you? And he kind of stopped and got this funny look on his face. And he said, I just realized this is the first time I have, and again, he'd been playing as long as I had. He'd been playing for 10 years at that point, probably. This is the first time I have ever played an airsoft game and not once worried about my gun failing. Like, not like, I haven't like sat there and thought, oh, that sounds a little off. Like, I don't know, that's not a good sound. Like, just not like, it just never, I never, sort of came out of the experience of playing the game to be worried about my equipment. It just does its thing, and I get to play and have a good time. I was like, okay, that's what we want to hear.
For sure, man. When these guys first got started, I was working in manufacturing for so long. Probably at this point, probably 8 different factories between Northeast Ohio and down here in South Carolina. I was really, really blown away at how crappy the quality of base guns were. I thought, in manufacturing, like, we might make some cheap things or whatever, but you're like, the quality checks we do, bro, you would not spend, almost anywhere else in any other field, you would not spend $250 on something and expect it to break the first month. Like, and airsofters just like, oh yeah, that's normal. I'm like, why are you accepting that kind of level of quality? It's terrible.
Well, it's, especially if you're talking, about AEGs, so each technology, each of the existing technologies, had its own fundamental flaw, right? If you're talking about AEGs, from a technical perspective, that motor and gear train is massively overdriven, even on a basic AEG. If you look at if you compare for instance, the power to size ratio of an AG motor to any sort of industrial, sort of design specification for a motor,
Yeah.
it's absurd. Like, it's so like the power density is extremely high.
Yeah.
Which is impressive from one standpoint.
Right.
But there's a reason that for any sort of industrial application,
There's
you
limits and
don't
specs.
design you don't design to that, because yeah, it's bad. And you can't get away from that. Like, you can improve your quality control, you can improve your materials, but you can't fundamentally get away from the fact that you're trying to put a huge amount of power through a relatively under-spec'd motor and gear train. Like, you can't, it's just not good, right? It's just fun, you can do it better or worse, but fundamentally you just have a limit there.
Yeah.
That is very, very difficult to get past and execute with any consistency on. And then, on the gas blowback side, you just have, you're just dealing with such an inconsistent power supply. I mean, it is so inconsistent.
Yep.
One, it's like, yeah. And there's so much complexity to the systems. And I mean, again, it's one of the things that's different about how we design our guns versus how pretty much every other airsoft gun manufacturer designs their guns. Because our philosophy is that we're not going to introduce, I call them baubles, but little fiddly bits
Yeah.
that maybe replicate something about the real firearm, or whatever else. If it's going to reduce the reliability and it doesn't fundamentally improve the performance. Right? We're a performance and reliability first.
Gotcha.
It's a form follows function. Obviously, there's certain features you have to have, right? I mean, or we choose to have, right? I mean, all our MTW line has, a working bolt catch, right? The empty mag detection and working bolt catch. So when the gun is empty, it stops firing, and you have to actually, toggle the bolt catch to get it to fire again.
I love that feature, by the way. These MTWs,
right.
You guys, yeah, they're awesome. I'm familiar with some of your guys' guns, so
yeah,
it's they're impressive, and that is a feature that is really, really cool.
Right. So
and useful, by the way.
Right, it's right, and so we could reduce some complexity there, but it's a value-adding feature that can be executed the way we executed it has minimum complexity. Right, we found a very simple way to do it that's very reliable and doesn't have, I didn't try to give it the perfect feel or add some other kind of cool little thing in there. The focus is on making something that is designed like, it's designed like a tool, not like a toy, right? It's something that it's intended to do a job.
Yeah.
And if this thing, if this feature doesn't help it accomplish the job and is just there to be cool, like we're not gonna, we don't do it.
Right. That's a good analogy or a good comparison too, because tools, right? Because like I flipped houses for a couple of years, and I have a whole set of DeWalt tools, right? Drills and all kinds of stuff. Like my impact, I don't know how many hours of use it's seen and how many times I've started it, stopped it under major amounts of torque, okay, in all kind of conditions, dry, humid, hot, like really, really hot,
Right.
you know, really cold,
Yep.
like dropped from a ladder. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And the thing is still going.
Yep.
Right. And these, and it's electric motor. Okay.
Yep.
Uh, and these airsoft guns, man, it's, yeah, you're right, man. It's got to have form over function because, or, you know, function. A lot of guys put a lot of effort into aesthetics
Mm-hmm.
because I started understanding early on, you know, airsoft is 80% looks and whatever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and 10% or 20% play or something like that. And it's like, you know, you
Yeah.
can't do that with your gun if you want to go have fun for 3 days.
Right. You have to make compromises on it,
Yeah,
right? You
right.
have to be willing to make compromises on
Yep.
it. If you're going to do that, there's, and it's not just always um, because of the complexity. Sometimes it's a cost thing, right? Because every company that's manufacturing, you know, airsoft guns, or manufacturing anything, you have to be able to make money doing it,
Hmm.
right? So, you have a certain, whatever the end price is, there's a certain percentage of that you can put into the parts and materials for the gun. Right. That's just the reality of economics. Like,
Sure. Yeah.
if it's a $300 gun and you're an airsoft manufacturer, you say, well, it's going to cost this much to import it, and dealers have to make this much selling it, so on and so forth. And so I have, ballpark, let's just say, $100 that I can put into materials and parts to make this gun. Um, you know, and so if you choose to include this part over here, that all it is a minor cosmetic feature, right? And it costs $2. Well, that's $2 that you can't spend in higher quality materials, better grade parts somewhere else in the gun. And that's just the reality of it.
Hmm.
Right. So it's the same way for adding, one of the reasons we ship our guns initially when we first made the MTW, we shipped with very, very basic furniture. Now we offer some additional options, if people want them. But and with no sights, we still don't include sights because from my perspective, almost all of my customers are going to end up throwing those sights away anyway and just putting whatever optic they want
Yep.
on there. And if I spend $10 on those sights, that's $10 that I can't have in higher quality materials, better surface finishes, higher grade, fasteners and all the different things that you need that will make the gun reliable. So it's where you choose. And my priority is to put the most value into the stuff that customers can't easily do themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Because why would I put an expensive stock on there if most of my customers have easy access to inexpensive and high quality stocks if they want to customize it? Right. It just makes no sense. I put the cost into the parts that they can't make better themselves. If I ship if we manufacture a receiver with a certain material and a certain manufacturing process, it is what it is, and the customer is stuck with that. They can't make it better.
Yep.
Right? They can't improve on that.
Mm-mm.
So put the most allocation of dollars into the stuff that is going to be the highest value to the customer because they can't, whatever you do with it, they're stuck with. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They can't make it better themselves. So yeah, it's a whole, we have a very different design philosophy, right, than a lot of airsoft manufacturers. I don't have you messed, my favorite example of this, and not hating on it because it's a really cool little gun, but have you messed with or have you seen the insides of the the AG MP7 from Elite Force.
No,
Have you seen the internals?
no,
It's crazy.
really. Yeah, we
I
never
mean,
got an MP7. Okay.
when I say it's crazy, I mean it's crazy. There are so many little tiny parts, and some of it's ingenious. You're
Yeah,
like, holy crap! Like
yeah,
they did all these, but they're all these little tiny delicate parts that you're just like, oh my goodness. And again, it's a really cool little gun. You
yeah.
know, I wish we could make an MP7. I love the MP7, but um, it's just a very, very different design philosophy than what we do.
Yeah, when I first I started taking some of these gearboxes apart because they would break, right?
Uh-huh.
And in manufacturing, I worked in maintenance a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of times I worked on machines and pneumatics and hydraulics and stuff. So I was very familiar with taking things apart. And I grew up, my dad was a mechanic. I grew up
Hmm.
working on cars. So uh, I wasn't afraid to take something apart and know that I could put it back together just fine, you know? And if not, it's going in the trash and I'll start
Yep.
over. So
And you learned something. Yeah.
exactly. I remember taking my first gearbox apart in the I didn't look up any videos. I'm like, I don't need no. It's like I never looked at instructions putting my furniture together. I don't need this video. Okay, I pop this thing open and the spring goes flying. And then when I saw the anti-reversal spring, I was like, I don't know how can I even get my fingers are too. I needed
Hmm.
tweezers. I needed a needle nose. I'm like, bro, okay, this is wild. So
Yep.
it was a little more intricate than I thought it would
Yeah.
to be honest.
It's very intricate. And to this day, I've been working on airsoft guns for, probably, well, over 20 years at this point. And to this day, uh, you'd think I would have seen it all, but goodness, there's still stuff sometimes that I have to like go find a video or something because I'm like, how the heck did they put this thing together? Because I have no, like, I can't figure out how to get it apart, and then I got it apart, and now I can't figure out how to get it back together. There's some stuff that's just crazy, but um, yeah, I mean, I think, from our standpoint, we wanted to bring, and I think we have brought something very different to the industry.
Yeah.
Um, and it's, I tell people, like, we make um we make high value products, right? So our sort of mission statement is, we leverage disruptive technology to bring, superior value and performance to the airsoft industry, right? So we don't do stuff that's just like what everybody else is doing. We create technology, and then we designed products around that technology.
Okay.
We have
That's
a whole
cool.
bunch of patents on different technology that we've created,
Oh, okay.
and then designed the products to leverage that to create something. And people say, I tell them, well, we make high value products. People say, well, I don't see how that's the case. You're like, everything you make is pretty expensive, right? You don't make, and my, but that's not the definition of value. Value isn't cheap.
Right.
Value is how much do you get per dollar that you have to spend. And I will put,
Hmm.
I will put the value per dollar that we deliver up against anybody in the industry. I think we
Hmm.
deliver more value per dollar than anybody else in the industry. I'll give one exception to that, maybe being some of the extremely low end, inexpensive guns. A little spring pistol that costs $15. That's a lot of value for $15, if we're being honest. Like,
That's
you
true.
can have a
That's
lot
true.
of fun for $15. But
Yep.
other than stuff like that, just the value per dollar. And everybody looks at the sticker price and they go, oh, that's a lot. The reality is, once you buy a decent quality AG, right? Are you going to be what, $350 into it, right? And you still don't have anywhere near the build quality that we have on our guns. I mean, not,
Mm-hmm.
our guns are manufactured the exact, the receiver set is manufactured the same way you manufacture an AR-15. Like it's, it's exactly the same sort of specs and material quality.
Wow.
So you spend $350 on that, and then you want to get an HPA system. Well, there's $300 or $400 or more, depending on what you're buying.
Yep.
Well, now you're already more than the cost of buying one of our guns, and you have to do it all yourself, and then mess with the tuning and spend another $150 on a fancy barrel and hop up to get the performance you want, and the yada 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 yada. And even if you stay AEG, you say, well, I'm going to buy the $358 AEG. And then, I mean, if you play it all seriously over the next year or so, you're going to spend hundreds of dollars on upgrades and repairs and all that. And again, you're in exactly the same ballpark, and you don't have the build quality and you don't have the reliability.
And if you get those repairs done, like somewhere, there's no guarantee just because you take it to a tech. There's no guarantee, like a local field tech or something.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys, not putting them down. I mean, they're supporting the field and stuff, with what they can do. But a lot of them, they don't know a lot of the stuff. They have to look up videos too, which is fine. But
I say it like this: there are some techs that are really, really good, and I know some that are really phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot that are doing their best.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not, it just is what it is. I mean, that's one reason, honestly, from the time we started, one of the things we do every year is we host a tech class, which is something I'm not aware of anybody else in the industry that does it, but we'll allow dealers to come in and they get 2 full days of training. I spent 2 full days doing hands-on training with different products, talking through things both from a theoretical standpoint and a best practice standpoint, and teaching them how to actually work on the products, because there's a need for that. Yeah. There's a need for consistency in terms of being able to service products. And it's, it sucks if you can't, if you don't have a good local tech and you're screwed. It's just, so, I mean, and that's a huge undertaking for us. I mean, it takes a tremendous amount of time and energy to put on that class.
I'll bet.
Right. But, but we've run it every year since the very first year, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, speaking of your first year, what was like, how did you transition from, okay, I'm an airsoft player to, working on and building guns? Did you just work on your own, kind of tinker for a while? And then how did you decide, okay, I'm going to make this a real business? Or
yeah. So I spent like 3 years, basically. I pretty quickly sort of decided I wanted to do something that was pneumatic, electro-pneumatic in particular, because going back to what we said earlier, the reason that a good HPA system is so reliable and durable is because it doesn't have the problem of energy, right? The work is done by a massive industrial compressor to compress all the air, right? So all the pneumatic system has to do is release that energy in a controlled fashion. The wear and tear and the just all that stuff is you avoid it completely. So I spent about 3.5 years designing different pneumatic systems. I had a whole bunch of which I don't have any of those prototypes here. That would be fun to stick up here, but I have a whole host of different prototypes that I just developed in my spare time, and I'd make drawings and send them out and have somebody machine them for me and get them back and test them out and go through the process again.
Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I, we literally had a budget line for like 3 years that was just, it wasn't much, but it was, a little bit of money each month that I could spend on getting parts made. And, she supported me from day one, and, was, to this day is an integral part of the success of the business.
That's good.
And, so I spent like 3 years doing that. And eventually I had something that I was like, this is really good. Like, it hits all the boxes. It's very simple. We can produce it, at a efficient price point. It fits. At that point, nobody was doing any HPA engines inside the gearbox. Everything, was gearbox replacement, right? I was like, that means it can go in more guns. It's more interchangeable, right? The tuning's really simple, and the performance is good. So, at that point, we spent, I went and talked to some people, got some advice from some more experienced business owners, that some guys I go to church with, that they gave me a lot of advice on how to get started and what things I should be thinking about, and spent about a year then finishing the product, but also developing the business model and the business plan and all that kind of stuff. And then, I got stuck for a while because I had a good job. I was making, good money for somebody a few years out of school, and, good company to work for. And, I was like, am I really going to risk all of this? And everybody's different. And I definitely don't think that the route I took is right for everybody. Because anybody that, all this, sorry, I'm down a rabbit trail, but
No, you're good, man.
Nothing drives me more crazy than all this garbage on social media about, I don't know whether your social media pops up. Maybe it's just because I'm a business owner and I work, I live in this space, but I get all this garbage about, oh, it's so easy to start a bit. You can make tons of money doing this.
Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada. It's so garbage. It's just
such garbage.
It's
I get all those feeds too.
Like, and I say that as somebody that is all about entrepreneurship and people going out and doing things. And I think it's great. But the reality of it is, I started what by any standard would be considered a very successful startup business.
Yeah.
Right. We were profitable pretty much from day one. We've grown consistently, whatever.
Yeah.
My family lived on savings for more than 3 years before we took any money out of the business. Right. That's the reality of starting a businthis.
Yep.
Right. Like, that's just, it is hard work.
It is.
And, all this, oh, you can go make tons of money, and it's just garbage. Yeah. You want to work hard and build something, go be an entrepreneur. And if you do well, then you may do well financially in the long run. But almost nobody suddenly starts making tons of money. Right? Let's just, even if you do, like, we were profitable.
Yeah.
But all that profit has to go right back into the business.
Yep.
To buy the next round of inventory, to buy this, to pay for that, and it's crazy. So
yeah, man.
Anyway.
No matter what you do, even those ones, the stuff you see that people say, oh, you just make faceless YouTube videos, right? Like, these are all those guys that are teaching you that. they're not making their money from those videos.
Right.
They're making their money from the teaching
Yep.
class that they're selling,
Yep.
which is
If it's
really, really
so
popular right now.
Yeah, if it's so
Yeah.
easy, why don't you freaking go do it instead of getting $10 from me to to buy your stupid video?
Exactly.
Like it's crazy.
So no matter what, whether you do that or what you're doing or what somebody else is doing, or it is you got to have the right ingredients to become successful. That's it. You got, and the biggest thing is endurance and consistency.
Yep, absolutely.
It is a marathon. Where I said this to somebody just recently on a podcast. Like, I read this business book years ago. It said, it's not how fast you can run, it's how far can you run fast.
Yep.
And that is, and it's difficult.
Oh, it's
like,
well,
you
listen,
could walk a marathon, that's fine, but it's going to take you a while, bro.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to at least jog. Like, how fast can you go that far? Okay. Yep. And that's the important thing with anything that you want to be successful. Doesn't matter what it is.
Oh yeah,
you just have to apply that principle.
Yeah, that's true. Even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you're just young person trying to get started in the world, like,
sure,
you can accomplish a lot, but plan to work hard.
That's it.
Like, I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of rambling here, but another social media pet peeve is all this. Oh, it's just so much harder for our generation because housing prices are so much higher relative to income and yada yada yada. Okay, whatever. Sure, I'll concede the point, right? I'll say sure, that's true.
Yeah.
But two things. One, that is totally cherry-picked data.
Yeah.
Right. Compared to one specific time in history where that economic situation was really great.
Right.
Look at the rest of history. You've got it good. Like, just
trust me, dude. Right. Like, look at our grandparents. Okay.
Right.
Our great grandparents.
Even then though, even that versus that cherry-picked data. Think about all the opportunities and things and resources that you have that your parents or grandparents did not have.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, they didn't have the internet. You can freaking go get an Ivy League school education for free. For free, if you will just do the work.
Yeah.
Right? And I will tell you, as a business owner, I will 10 times out of 10 hire somebody who doesn't have an actual degree, but can demonstrate that they went through and did all that work and were motivated enough to do it themselves, versus somebody that has a piece of paper that says they got a degree. Like, there's no, because I don't freaking care about a degree. Like, what can you do? Can you do the work? Exactly. Like, do you know how to do something? Because it's just,
dude, there's a really good friend of mine that I won't say who it is, but it's we're close, we talk a lot, and he his job is he works for a subcontractor or contractor for for DARPA. Okay,
yeah.
His crew,
they do some crazy.
His crew of guys.
I worked with some people that worked DARPA. That's some.
So
yeah,
the guy
stuff
that I'm talking about he's got a lot of years experience in the military. He went to MIT. He's done about. So he's a very smart, educational and hands-on. Okay, high aptitude as well. His crew are, bachelor's degree from Harvard or whatever, kind of, and they suck. Like, they suck.
Yep.
When he calls me, he's like, man, I hate using you as a cushion. Just like, I'm just, spewing all this negative. I just need a vent. I'm like, do it, bro. Come on, let's go. So, and he's really frustrated because that's the environment these companies have created.
Yep.
Where, you got this degree, let's go. We'll carry, and they just kind of carry these employees along that really don't add. We go back to that word you used earlier, value.
Yeah.
And a side note on that, kids now, they don't know what that word means because they think it means cheap. Because
right.
what is what is Walmart's logo thing?
Great
Great
value.
value. So they're like, oh, value in
Yeah.
it. Oh, it's cheap. No,
I
it's
mean,
not, bro. You
sometimes
don't
sometimes
understand.
value is cheap,
It
right? So
is. Right.
if it's good quality but cheap, then that's good value.
There you go.
But yeah, it's not inherently cheap. But yeah, and don't get me wrong, there are brilliant people that come out of those schools.
Sure.
Like they're like, but you know, I also like I went to a good engineering school. Like I know plenty of people that I graduated with that there is not a snowball's chance in a very hot place that I'm going to hire them.
Yeah.
Like, and they got a degree, same degree I did.
Yeah.
Right. Now there are also some people I graduated with that were great. And that's, you know, but at the end of the day, the question is always, what can you do? And so even, you know, I guess, you know, whether you're looking to start a business or you're looking to, you know, just get into the workforce, like own it. Don't like, don't make excuses. Like, don't make excuses that, oh, I have it harder than somebody else. Maybe you do, but what can you do about it? If you can't do about it, right? Yeah. Like, I mean,
but did you die?
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, figure out the things that you have some control over and work on those. All the things that you have it hard in that you can't control, the more time you spend thinking about that, that's all unproductive time that you're not going to like do anything
exactly
with. And most of the time it puts you in a fearful mindset. And I don't like I don't think I'm a particularly fearful person in general.
Right.
But
same.
If somebody tells you that they've never like, you know, been afraid about stuff, they're just like,
that's lies.
And when, like when you, but the one thing I realized, you know, running a business in particular is that fear will paralyze you. It will keep you from doing anything. Like it will just, you get in that mindset and you just can't make, and you need to make a decision, but you can't make a decision because all you can feel is the fear, right? You can't see the potential. You can't see the opportunities. So when you focus on all those bad things in the world, it puts you in that fearful mindset, and then you can't execute on the stuff that is actually valuable and that you can do. So, yeah, I mean,
those are good points because, there's my mind, you know, I'm that same very similar personality type. You know, my mind works in if then statements almost all the time. When I see an issue, when I see anything, it's if then what okay, and I'm trying to figure out a solution, which is not always somebody's not always looking for a solution. Like my wife and I, when she's like, she'll want to complain, and I'm going, I can see the problem fix. Like I can see the answer right here. It's like, I want to give you the answer right here.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't want an answer. I just want to complain.
Right. It's not about the nail.
I'm like, okay. It's so hard, man. Sometimes I have to go like this and I'll listen to her because I know I'll just blurt out, you know, here's the solution. And
you just, you know, she wants somebody to listen and to say, I know that's hard. That's, you know, that's
but
got to be really frustrating.
Right. This a lot of the new generation, I think. I wonder if it's because, you know, maybe the technology has made our lives so convenient that they don't, and a lot of people, like when it was really common for when I grew up in the 70s for a lot of my friends to, our parents were kind of poor. Like we didn't have a lot of amenities. We didn't have, like, things broke. My dad he never hired somebody to fix something in our house. My dad would never call a plumber. He would just figure that crap out.
Dude, you know? I got woken up. I got woken up when I was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years old. And our septic system had backed up. And he had already tried snaking it, and it was probably like 5 a.m. It was winter.
Oh God.
The ground was frozen solid.
Oh my God.
And he had already tried snaking it, couldn't get it with the snake. So we had, you know, digging. So we're out there in the you're in the
Oh
freaking
my God.
freezing cold, trying to dig through frozen ground to get the freaking septic tank uncovered, which we eventually did, and
Yeah.
got it, got it cleaned up. But yeah, I think some of it's, I think some of it is convenient that we live such convenient lives now. Um, the average college student would be totally dysfunctional, not just stressed out, but totally dysfunctional in their day-to-day life if they didn't have their cell phone.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They would not be able to like do anything. Right?
Yeah.
Like when my first year, I didn't get a cell phone until my second or third year of college.
Yeah.
Right. Which even for my generation was a little late. Most of my friends had cell phones by that point, but we didn't, I didn't get one until like my second year of college, or third year of college, I think it was. I can't remember. Anyway, but at that point I was commuting 45 minutes to campus every day with my sister.
Yeah.
We were sharing a car. We had totally different class schedules, right? And we didn't have cell phones.
Yep.
And we somehow managed to do it every single, like,
Oh my God.
Right. How did you know where to meet them? How did you know when they were going to be there?
Like,
how did you
what? How did you find your car without the little
right.
beeper? Like, what?
Right. So I think some of it's convenience. I mean, not to get off on a political topic, but some of it's not really political. It's philosophical, right? Some of it is just the sort of dominant philosophical movements of our day. Anything critical theory related.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's a bad word.
Basically makes you, it teaches you whether it's, critical race theory or critical gender theory or the whole thing.
Anything that involves like
Critical,
using common sense and critically thinking about something, they turned it bad. Like you're a conspiracy theorist if you're a critical thinker.
Yeah.
And common sense. Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, so you get these philosophies that basically tell people that it's good to be a victim.
Right.
Right. That's the whole,
that's true.
The whole, the whole critical race
so
theory,
instead of figuring out a solution to that problem, it's just complain about it. Right. Especially on social media.
Right. Yeah. Like, well, it's virtuous to be a victim, right? If I'm more of a victim, I'm more of a, and that bleeds into how people view everything. And then it just, if you're a victim, then pretty much by definition, you're helpless and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So anything
you need the government or something like that to help you. So yeah, the real problem solvers of the world, they're getting more rare.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I mean, I still, whatever. Our day and age has its issues, but I mean, you can't convince me there's any better point in history to be alive than where we are today in this country.
Agree.
And that's with me having all sorts of issues with our country. And that's not a
sure.
Oh, both sides of the political spectrum. I have all sorts of issues with. Like I'm just, but and culturally and everything. Like there's just, but just demonstrably we live better lives than any other time in history.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
And it's not even close.
No, it's not even close.
It's just not even close. So try to be thankful and not not worry about the
good point. And that's what I've said on here a lot is that's one of the things that changed with me too, is going through this being paralyzed and coming out of that was it really made me very grateful for a lot of things in my life, and I just bet. A lot of things in general. And so that's been a big change over the last few years for me. And it's almost impossible to be angry and whiny when you're in a grateful or thankful state,
Right.
Yeah. So it really changes perspectives.
How long did that last? How long did the paralysis last, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind. It was, um, the worst it got, where I was laying in bed and I was, I couldn't talk even.
Mhm.
That was just about a week.
Okay.
Then I could talk, but I couldn't talk
Okay.
for very long. Like, it was a very slow incremental process to get
Gotcha.
any of these faculties
Yeah.
back working and stuff. So and then it was up to, so over a period of uh 2 months, three
Okay.
months and this was the treatment they offered. It wasn't guaranteed, it wasn't this and that and whatever, and there was side effects. I refused the treatment, um not because I was tough or anything. It's just because the numbers weren't there, like
Right.
50-50, and your risks are this. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no thanks.
Right.
Like, I'd rather just wait it out. Let's, I can lay in bed,
Yeah.
whatever, um
Is it?
and
I'm not familiar
yeah,
with it. Is it an acute
it's a
thing
autoimmune
that
disorder.
oh, it's an
They have
auto. Okay,
no,
gotcha.
yeah, and they don't know. It's in the same family as MS.
Okay. Yeah.
So as far as what happens to your body, to your nerves,
Uh-huh.
it breaks down. So the autoimmune is when your body tries to fight something, an illness
Right.
or something like that, and then it turns against itself,
Yep.
okay, and malfunctions. And so what this did was it breaks down the myelin sheath, which is a little conductor basically of electricity from that's on the end of your nerves that receives a
Okay.
signal from your brain. Uh, and so if you don't have that, there's a gap there. It's like having your toaster unplugged. All right, it ain't
Right.
working. So the toaster works great, right? My
Right.
muscles work great. I had
Right.
plenty of muscle. It just,
Yeah.
I couldn't, it wasn't getting
You
the
can't
signal to do
control it.
this.
Yeah. You can't get the signal.
There's a
Yeah.
gap there. Yeah. So, and that happened to just about every nerve in my body. So my mouth, my tongue, anything that's run by muscles, which is everything, your eyelids. Okay.
Hmm.
So I was on the edge of being on a respirator where, okay,
Okay.
like, okay, go to the hospital or not. I didn't have to, thankfully, but yeah, so it lasted a while. And then it's been an up and down. It's
Okay.
not something that I can just get steadily better and
Okay.
100%, it seems like, anyway. But yeah, so it was a while, but it definitely changed me as a person.
Yeah.
um it gave me a really way more, um I don't know, loving perspective
Yeah.
in the world that I didn't used to have. I didn't start out that way. I was angry. I was really angry. I was depressed,
Hmm.
but it comes out as anger. I don't get
Right.
sad. Most of the time
Right.
it comes out as frustration and anger. So I was for quite a while. And then when it's kind of like that scene in Forrest Gump where, oh, what's his name, is the guy that had his legs blown off in the war. Captain
Lieutenant Dan.
Lieutenant Dan, yeah, where he's on the top of the mast in the
Yeah.
ocean, and and he's yelling at God. Yeah, I had that
Right.
moment. I had
Yeah.
multiple of those moments. And then when I couldn't will forcefully will my thumbs to work, okay,
Right.
uh, it wasn't like I gave up. It was that I let go
Hmm.
and I got some peace, and then and anyway, so it was a long process, but a lot of good came out of it. I don't know if I would change it, to be honest. If I could go back and say, I wish I would have never had it. I don't think I would, because I really like where I'm at, who I am, and
Right.
what has come out of it. I would have never started a YouTube channel. I'll tell you that. I was never in the
Right.
house. I was never on I was on a computer and stuff. I like tinkering with computers. I built computers when I was, in the mid 90s. I built my own computer, so I was always into that. But anyway, yeah, it's a process, but uh and starting a business like this, or like, um yeah,
Yeah.
it was good. It had a good result
Yeah.
from it. So, but yeah, man, it's so I want to ask you about the process of your, building your business when you started. So you did you ever have anything happen where it was like, oh man, okay, uh I don't know if I can do this anymore, maybe I shouldn't do this anymore? You're up till
Again,
3 in the morning trying to figure out an issue, and you're
oh
like,
goodness,
holy
you
crap, I got to get up in
have
like 3 hours to go to work.
um many of those times. I mean, startup was insane. You know, I was working somewhere around 90 hours a week.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, I literally would get up, you know, and work, because I was still working my day job full time at that point, and I'd get up and I'd be at work at 7:30 in the morning, and I'd put in my hours and I'd finish up and I'd go home and spend we had a couple hours set aside for dinner with the family, spend a little time with the kids, and then I'd go back and work on the business, and I'd work until 10, 11, 2, 3 in the morning, whatever it was, and then get up the next morning and do it again.
Yeah.
So that was, you know, incredibly hard. It was a relatively short period of time. Had a lot of very difficult times when I made major mistakes, you know, and it caused problems with products, and I had to, you know, then go and deal with all that. And then, but then maybe the easiest example to latch on to is, you know, I spent the first like 4 years of the business trying to convince somebody to work with me on making complete guns, because that was the business plan. Was we develop the technology, we find a larger manufacturer that wants to work with us on making guns, and then, you know, and I could not find anybody to take me seriously, and I talked to just about everybody.
Yeah.
It's not that big an industry. I got around to everybody. And nobody wanted to work with me, or their terms for working with me were, you know, just not tenable at all. But so I eventually decided, well, you know, we need to make our own gun, because I'm done waiting for somebody else to do it. We just have to figure out how to do it ourselves. And, you know, at that point we were still we're definitely, we're not a big company by any stretch of the imagination, but we were a very small company still at that point.
Yeah.
You know, it was a handful of people, and if a handful of people, it was, you know, we were a small operation.
Sure.
And, you know, I spent like 6 months designing the platform, you know, coming up with the design, and we started to move forward with it, and we had everything lined up, but we had to commit to what, you know, for us was a relatively large, you know, first order in order to make it work, in order to get the order volumes we needed. And long story short, my first, second, and third suppliers, like, you know, plans for suppliers for our receivers fell through. After we had already ordered all of the rest of the parts.
Oh man.
So now we're sitting here on, you know, $250,000 worth of inventory that we can't sell because we don't have receivers.
Yeah.
Right. And we've had to pay all the tooling costs and the development costs and the so on and so forth. Right. And I mean, I was at my wit's end. Like I had a plan, I had a backup plan, and I had a backup to the backup, and the last guy also walked off with like $30,000 or $40,000 and never delivered anything.
Oh my God.
So,
Oh, that's,
you know, which,
terrible,
you know, again, is bad for, bad for any small business, but when you're as small a business as we were at that point, it's that's all a lot to
Oh yeah.
just from a cash flow standpoint, right? Because you've got all this cash tied up in inventory you can't sell, and then somebody steals a bunch of money, and you can't even afford to sue them if you wanted to.
I was gonna say, yeah, at that point you can't even.
Um,
It's gonna cost more to sue them than you
yeah,
get.
yeah. So
Holy cow!
on a just sort of, I actually don't remember whether it was. I think it was my idea, but my wife made me actually do it. I was like, the only other thing I can think of is if we make them ourselves, but I don't know. Like I don't know how to run a CNC mill.
CNC,
Like that's
yeah.
not. I've never touched this
You're
in my
more on
life.
the design end, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and she and anyway, I ended up we were driving to at that time our van had just died, so we had to go
Of
buy a
course.
minivan, which
Yeah.
definitely
That's
helped.
how it goes, man.
But we were driving down to pick up the minivan, um and and we just stopped at a gas station or wherever, and called up a friend of mine. I was like, I've got a buddy, a guy I knew growing up um that I know he's a machinist and has worked in the firearms industry.
Hmm.
Why don't I just my initial thought was just ask him, like, is this even possible? Like, am I totally out of my depth if I decide to try to do this myself, right? Because
Yeah,
I didn't know. I've never messed with it.
right.
And so got him on the phone, and good guys. They run a he and his business partner run Dauntless Manufacturing. They they do a lot of knife manufacturing.
Oh,
Really good stuff.
nice.
So shout out Dauntless.
Yeah, definitely, man.
And
Shout out.
he actually won Forged in Fire a few seasons ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool, man.
His name's Chris Moss.
Okay.
Anyway, uh got him on the phone, and he was like, no, we can do it. Yeah, we can do it. And he's like, and by the way, like, one of the things where they were just starting their business at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, one of the things we're looking to do is to do sort of turnkey solutions for companies that want to get into manufacturing, because we have the expertise. And so I said that, well, this is how much money I have left. I was
Yeah,
like,
after all that.
I've got
And
this
my
much
van just
money
died, by
left.
the way, okay? So
Right. And so, like, they worked within that and got, picked out a machine for picked out a used mill, did all of the fixture design, all of the tooling design, set it up, and basically gave us a turnkey operation that we could start making our own receivers.
yeah.
And they did that from the time I called him to the time we started running our first receiver.
Yeah.
Was 8 weeks.
Whoa.
It was
That's crazy.
it was absurd. Yeah, so I mean, they absolutely
that's what you
killed
pay
it.
for right there, is
Yeah.
experience. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, but I mean, that at that that whole period, I mean, there every time payroll came up, it was like, well, do we have enough money to run payroll? Yep.
Right?
Just barely got,
Uh-huh.
but so there was that. And then we had another incident, probably one of the other sort of darkest times, was we had a very large company who I think I'm allowed to talk about at this point, but just for the sake of, just in case that
Yeah, you don't have to name names.
just in case the NDA is still going, I won't give a name, but a very large company in the paintball world that started coming on after us, claiming we were infringing a whole bunch of their patents.
Huh.
And, you know, basically, you know, whatever. I went over it all with my patent attorney and we disagreed with them. But the way patent law works, it doesn't matter. If you're a small company and they're a big company,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter, because a patent lawsuit is insanely expensive.
Really?
Oh, I'm like easily $500,000 to try to defend a patent.
Good God.
Like easily. And that's not even and that's not even an expensive patent lawsuit.
Oh, God almighty. Okay.
You know, and you'll never get that back. Like there's virtually zero chance of getting so in a lot of lawsuits, if you win, you can sue to get your expenses covered.
Right.
Well, in patent law, you know, I'm not an attorney, so this isn't legal advice, but you know, my understanding of it is basically you have to, in order to win that, you can try, but in order to win that, you have to prove that they knew that their claim was invalid. Right. And patent law is so complex that it is almost impossible to ever prove it. Like you just can't, because there's always some plausible deniability that they can say, oh, well, we thought this, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, exactly. So, it's very subjective. Yeah.
Right. So basically
what were they saying? Your parts were like one little piece or something was exactly like theirs?
Yeah, our engines primarily is what they were going after. And you know, anyway, that was the gist of it. And so it doesn't, you know, if you're a small company, it doesn't matter. You can say, well, I don't think I'm infringing your patents.
Right.
And they can say, well, you may be right, but it's going to cost you $500,000 and years in court to try to prove that.
Yeah.
So it would be cheaper for you to just pay us.
So what do they?
That's
so
the basic
that you pay
argument.
For the rights or something, or
yeah,
do you have to change the design or something?
I can't speak to exactly what they. Well, I won't speak to exactly what they were asking for, but in a case like that, you might be forced to change the design. You might be forced to stop manufacturing it altogether. They might ask for exorbitant royalties. Like there's all sorts of things they can do. And so anyway, this whole thing was going on, and we kind of kicked the can down the road. It got to January of 2020, and we got a letter that was very threatening, basically saying, if you don't pay us, we're going to sue you now. Like we're not going to, because we'd kind of, basically it said, I don't remember the details, but more or less, we don't care what you think at this point. Like,
we're not asking your opinion,
right?
Whether you agree with it. This is going forward.
So my patent attorney responded and said, well, Rich has a couple trade shows, so let's, once, we'll get back to you once he gets through with his trade shows. And they and then of course that was January 2020, and we all know what happened over the next couple months. Right. And then with all the chaos, we never responded to them, and they never got back to us.
I got you.
And a few months later, and at this point we were cooked. Like we had we did not have the financial resources at that point to fight a patent battle, even if we wanted to.
Yeah.
And and I was basically unwilling to pay them because I thought I was in the right, and I did not want to pay them to use my own
Yeah.
technology, right? Like this is, um, so, um, we spent we spent many days, many hours praying about it, and just basically saying that we're done. We've got nothing
Yeah.
else we can do. Put it
Right.
before the Lord, and um, did that for weeks and weeks and months. A few months later, they filed bankruptcy.
Whoa.
Yep.
See, this is the kind of thing that this is like the behind the scenes stuff that, you don't know what's going on, but this is like almost like a last ditch effort for them to, and this happens in companies, in the world,
Oh yeah.
where they do these kind of tactics to try to save their,
I,
their
yeah, I don't,
business from.
I have no, view into their
No, I
financials.
mean,
Like
that's speculation,
but yeah, it's
that's
what
wild,
it's
dude.
what it seems like. Something along those lines is what was happening.
But it
So,
went away, and that's yeah.
so
So when you were telling me about the first thing, like all this stuff happening and breaking, and all the things fell apart, and somebody walked away with all this money, and then your van breaks, and I'm going, this sounds. We've had similar things happen in our life,
uh,
and you go, okay, God's seeing how are you going to handle it?
yep,
Okay, these are tests. Like
yep,
us being here, this is a test. Like this
yep,
is what do you which way are you choosing? Okay,
yep,
and it's all about choice and agency, and how are you going to handle it. So it's
yeah,
but I'm going to tell you what's funny though is if we get emotional
mm-hmm.
and we're so close to the problem, it's very difficult to step back and go, oh wait,
Oh yeah,
oh, this is a test. Okay,
yep.
where do we go?
Oh, it's very hard
It
because
is.
at the time it seems impossible.
Uh-huh.
It's at the time it seems, like this is just the end of the world, and there's
Yeah.
no, there's nothing you can do about it. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
crazy, man.
yeah,
So you
it's
got the first thing you showed me off that top shelf, you had these are all iterations of your
yeah,
engines that you built.
yeah, that's all different engines. We've got, oh goodness,
So what number are you on now for
oh goodness, it depends on how you want to number them. I have I mean we
design
had,
number
yeah.
123?
Yeah. I mean, of ones we've released, the SMP was our initial engine. We had Inferno Gen 1, Hydra Gen 1. We had Inferno Gen 2, Hydra Gen 2, Reaper Gen 1, Reaper Gen 2. And then that's not getting into all the bolt action engines and stuff like
Right.
that. So,
I got your
yeah.
Instagram pulled up.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. That's old school. Dude, that is old
Oh,
school.
look, I scrolled all the way down to your very first Instagram
Whoa.
post. Okay. It took me a while. Uh, but it was 506 weeks ago. Is that 10 years? Is 500
That
weeks 10
is 10
years?
years ago.
Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy, bro?
It is wild.
Nostalgia
Yeah.
right here. So
That's
this
wild.
Hydra engine you're talking about,
Yeah.
this is pretty cool to look back on. I'm really glad you guys started posting something like this long ago, like in the beginning, to where you
Yeah.
can see your the progress, it's cool.
Yeah. No, that's super cool. I haven't scrolled back that far. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
This was, yeah, one somebody, these were mismatched. We had a bunch of random, we did some different anodized colors, and we had a bunch of mismatched parts,
Yeah.
and we just threw them together, and we're like, these are oddball engines. You want one that's, we have a handful of these, just like odd color combinations.
Right.
Um, so yeah, no,
It's pretty cool, man.
that's pretty bonkers.
So where
Oh,
so right now,
there's me shooting myself in the finger with a very high powered gun.
this one.
Yeah, yeah. I still have a scar from that.
What?
Oh yeah, I put a BB through the pad of my finger. Like it lodged up against the bone. It
Oh
was wild.
oh,
Like
that had to be
yeah.
painful, bro.
I'll tell you, literally, sorry, you were about to ask a question. I was just, but
No, no,
yeah,
you
literally
couldn't
the,
bend that knuckle for a while.
yeah, literally the first question or first thing I thought when I did it
Yeah.
was, and this is just, you know, me being whatever, me, I guess, but my first thought was, it is not physically possible to shoot your finger off with an airsoft gun, because I was convinced with how it felt. I was convinced my finger was gone.
Yeah.
Like it felt that bad. I was like, I don't have a finger left. Like there's nothing there. And then I looked at it, I was like, no, I still have a finger. So yeah,
Oh, that's
wild.
funny, man.
Oh,
Yeah, man. Well, I love your story because it's a great success story that's still building. I mean, it always is. And this is cool. All the different,
oh man.
all the different issues you guys have overcome to get where you're at now. And so now what's the most popular thing you guys have now? What's something if a newer like in the first 6 months, they've already gone through their crappy gun that broke the first weekend they went, and they're like, okay, I don't want to do my own upgrades. I don't want to, where can I just drop, $1,000 or less on a gun that's going to be reliable?
Yeah. I mean, hands down. Yeah, hands down. I'll tell you that that probably the best option for that is the billet unleashed. We did it pretty much specifically for that purpose, because we wanted something that was an all-in-one package that people could just get, buy everything and have it all together. So the billet unleashed, I don't have one here with me, but it basically, it's the billet version of our MTW. So that's a picture from our tech class. Yeah. But it's the billet version of our MTW, and it includes the Wraith air stock and a tank in the box. Right. So everything ready to go. You've already got a tank. You've got the gun set up. It's ready to play out of the box. Super easy. And if you want something, so if you want something that's just all in one, that's definitely the way to go. If you want something that you want to shoot more, you want to run more full auto, and you want a bigger tank, and then pick up a billet, 10-inch MTW, and grab yourself a Storm Cat 5 regulator, and you're and you'll be set to go. So yeah, so we got lots of different options at this point, but MTW 9 just relaunched, and that's like a PDW. Again, I don't have one here, but and then the thing that's coming out soon, you can tell me whether you've seen any of this, but the thing that's coming out relatively soon, it's still a few months away, but is the Genesis Arms Gen 12 shotgun. So this is the licensed replica of the Terran Tactical shotgun used in the most recent John Wick movie.
Right.
It has a whole new engine inside it that is an actual shotgun engine. So it fires 8 BBs every time you pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Select fire capable. It's nuts. It's really good stuff. So
that is wild.
Yeah.
I want to say I saw a video you guys did. Did you guys do a video on your Instagram for that?
I don't know. We've been pretty quiet on Instagram or on social media about it, because it is still a little bit away. Okay. And we don't want to get people, you want to hype people up a little bit, but you don't want to get people's hopes too high, because then they,
they want it now. Okay.
Yeah, they want it now.
So when is that? Do you have a time frame on that?
We're looking at starting to ship right around the end of the year.
Okay.
Some customers may see it by the end of the year. Most customers, it'll be like the very beginning of next year before it actually gets in people's hands.
Yeah.
Once you account for shipping time and all that kind of stuff.
3-4 months. That's not bad. Okay.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's really cool. I'm looking forward to it because it adds a whole different dimension of gameplay, because there's never really been a game effective playable shotgun that acts like a shotgun, and this acts like a shotgun. It's pretty awesome.
That's pretty cool.
And we had at the tech class this year, a couple months ago, we had I guess it was just about a month ago now, but we had all of the dealers that were in all do a demo with it and shoot and they were like shooting each other, and they were having a great time. But got some really good feedback from that.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
yeah. So,
Well, listen, man, it's been great talking with you.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep you too long. I appreciate all the info and the big reveal of the shotgun. That's cool. Is that the only one right now?
That's the only one we can talk about right now. There's always stuff in development, but
Okay.
that's the only one we've only thing we've shown right now. So
I gotcha.
We're always trying to push the envelope and come up with new stuff. So you'll hopefully see more stuff from us in the future. But
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much, man. It's been it's great meeting you,
absolutely.
Rich, and yeah, good to hear your story and how you guys got started and what's going on now. And yeah, keep doing what you're doing, man. You're doing great. I appreciate it. I appreciate what you're doing
it.
for the yeah, man. This is cool. I actually looked up that Dauntless too, by the way.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool too. So, but I'm gonna
Yeah.
have all these links. I've got your YouTube channel, your Instagram, your website, and all that.
Awesome.
Is that where the best place people can go is your website to find your
Yeah,
stuff?
to learn about the products, websites, and we have a very informative YouTube channel. If you we post tons of informational content on YouTube.
Yeah,
it's not a lot. We do some marketing stuff and stuff like that, but there's a lot of like educational material and how-tos and stuff on YouTube. So, but I really appreciate you having me on today. I appreciate the invite, and it was good chatting, and again
awesome.
hearing a little bit about your story as well. So
thanks, man.
yeah.
All right, brother. Well, you have a good night. I appreciate you.
You too. Take care.